Hi, this is Mike St. Clemente. Welcome to Stratogists.com's first 2011 webcast. It's been a while since I posted a webcast. I think it's been over a year, in fact, and such is life with a 2-year-old in the house. Things have been pretty busy, but I want to get back on the saddle here and talk to you today about two things, but one primarily, information. What is information? Well, information is kind of free these days, right? When you're trying to do research on your player, it could be a veteran, it could be a rookie. But if you're trying to figure out who's good and what they're doing and get your scouting report going so you can make a trade and assess your team, back in the day, you used to be able to just, or you'd have to, buy a magazine, buy the Sporting News, buy Sports Illustrated or whatever other publications you'd wanted to. But today, with an internet connection and a computer, all this information is kind of free. You can go to CBS Sportsline, you can go to Yahoo, you can go to ESPN or whatever other websites you want to. But just because there's a lot of websites out there, and just because there's a lot of even magazines out there and other sources of information, doesn't mean they're all good. The same information is available to everyone, but as you're assessing your team, you have to find a way to distinguish what is good information and what is not. I'm going to give you a few examples from ESPN and Rick Sutcliffe and a few other things I've got written down here on ways to figure out when what you're hearing or what you're reading is kind of full of crap. And you need to pull that stuff out, because as you're assessing your team, you have to realize that there are so many sources of information out there that really can't help you make a better trade. I'm actually going to get to the second thing right now, and that is I hope you would go to our website, Stratogists.com, to purchase our rookie review from this year. And the reason I asked for that, a little more special this year, is all of our profits this year are going to charity. We have two charities that we're supporting. One is on autism. A friend of mine has a child who's mildly autistic, and it is a disease that is very difficult to understand. It's affecting more and more and more kids, and it's a very worthy cause to put your funds towards that. The second cause is actually, can you even read this? My camera's set to this setting where it follows my face wherever it goes. You can't read my shirt. My shirt talks about the pedigree adoption drive for dogs. Every year, 4 million dogs are put up for adoption. 2 million are adopted. You can figure out what happens to the other 2 million. It's 2 million dogs every year that are euthanized. And by buying the Rookie Review this year, you will help support autism and help support homeless dogs. So I thank you in advance for that. Getting to the topic at hand, a year ago, ESPN, the magazine, had this article. They had this little blurb, baseball blurb, and it talked about Wandy Rodriguez. And basically what it mentioned was, it said that Wandy Rodriguez was having a breakout year, and that was 2009. And it talked about how Pudge Rodriguez was saying, well, he's working faster, and he's doing all these other things, and this is contributing to his breakout year. Let me tell you something. If you ever read something on Strategist.com that says that Wandy Rodriguez had a breakout year in 2009, send me an email and tell me that I'm full of crap and tell me that my site is worthless. I ask you to do that. Wandy Rodriguez did not have a breakout year in 2009. In fact, he didn't have one in 2008 either. I'm pretty sure it was 2007. These guys, I don't know how they're so far behind. It was just one sentence in the whole magazine. I don't want to go nuts on them, but again, when you read things like this, you have to understand that a lot of the stuff that you read, if it's not specifically geared towards Strat, it's not really going to help you. I was watching a game on ESPN last year, and I don't watch a ton of ESPN baseball. I watch just enough, and Rick Sutcliffe, I think, is really funny, especially the way he talks. Like, he doesn't ever drop his voice at the end of a sentence. Oh, this is Rick Sutcliffe, and one of the things that really surprised me, is what he said, is that the San Francisco Giants, they went out. They picked up Ryan Garco. They picked up Jose Castillo to fill in some holes at first base and second base. They went out. They picked up these guys, these big hitters, these big guns. And what's surprising to me is that the team hasn't done any better. They haven't closed the gap in the standings. Their offense hasn't done any better with Ryan Garco, with Jose Castillo. It's really quite surprising to me. And I'm going to stop with the Sutcliffe shtick. He's kind of amusing to talk to, but can get a little annoying after a while. But let me tell you something else again. If you find something on Strategist.com that tells you that adding Ryan Garco to your team is actually going to improve your offense, you're crazy. You add Jose Castillo to your team at second base, and you're expecting your offense to improve. That's a little crazy as well. Again, here's a guy, he should know the game. He's a pitcher, but he makes a classic announcer statement. Team X picks up player Y. Doesn't matter if player Y is good or not. Just the fact that they picked him up, you expect the team to improve. Well, don't they realize they have to drop somebody to pick this guy up? Is he any better than the guy that they've dropped? Probably not. So there's a lot of issues there when you're listening to announcers. There's plenty of room there for people who just really don't know what they're talking about. Last summer, Scott Hairston was traded from the Padres to the A's in the middle of the season. And I've owned Scott Hairston since he was a little baby, since he was a second baseman with the Arizona Diamondbacks. And I've always wondered what would happen if he played a full season in center field. He always plays just enough left field and gets hurt just enough to manage a 4 in center and nothing more. Sometimes he'll get a 3 in left. And I was like, one of these years,